dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Blazing today's hip hop, R&B, and pop music. Keeping your radio on fire. Bringing you the hottest, realest, riskiest talk shows live 24/7 on hot7025fm.com.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Cheryl Underwood, and you're tuned into the hottest news station on the planet, Hot 702.5.
Hi. Hey.
What's up? All your favorite artists.
Check it out. Say my name.
DJ Khaled.
This is Mila J.
Bruno Mars.
On hot7025fm.com.
Hey. Whew. Let me see. My little hat look flat. My little beret. Thank you. Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
I'm mic 2, right? Mic 3? Hello. I'm
Can
here.
you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
It's Get It Together with Jnine.
And Jezzi.
Well, welcome.
Hey. I got the beret on today. I don't know what we doing here, but we
Raspberry
trying.
beret.
And it's
That's right.
raspberry. Stop
The
playing with
kind
me.
you find in a secondhand store. And
That's
it is
right.
raspberry.
Yes,
All right.
it is.
Got our Prince thing on right now.
Yeah, it's raining nonstop out here. It's
Yeah.
been raining for days in Cali.
Yes, it has. Yeah, prayers out to California and the sinkholes and the flooding.
Yeah. Oh my
and
gosh.
Nobody wants to hear about sinkholes in San Francisco. Like, that just sounds like straight flush into the
Right?
bay. It's not okay. It's not okay.
You know, it's funny because I've been doing a lot of driving around, and there are a lot of potholes, and it's like almost like the ground is crumbling,
Girl,
but
I
it's
showed
all over the
that to my
place.
mom, and she said, "Well, what is that?" I said, "Hades." Hell.
Right?
Hell is opening up in the
Right?
city. It's not okay.
Yeah, all these. Oh
So,
my, it's
yeah, prayers. As a
crazy.
matter of fact, if we could just take a moment to breathe,
Yes,
inhale, exhale, close your
yes.
eyes, relax, shake it off to the sound of our voices on Let's Get It Together on Hot 702.5 FM. And I'd like to also send a quick prayer out. I mean, I don't know, this is just my own blessing over the airwaves. For everybody who is suffering loss, we had a burial today in my family in that mess in Sacramento. And so I just want to send out prayers
Yes.
to all of those that are feeling the weight of the world as we
Right.
watch, disaster. As we watch disaster in real time.
Right.
And it's traumatic.
It is
I don't care
traumatic.
if it's direct, indirect, it is traumatic for us all because we feel for
Absolutely.
our children, we feel for our parents and loved ones. And so, I just ask that God gives us strength and wisdom and long life, and that we are prosperous in health as we are in wealth.
Yes, indeed. I am an amen. I agree. I concur.
You're locking
Absolutely.
up.
I'm
Oh,
no.
there you go.
Oh,
Okay, you
I'm
good.
sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
you might
I
have
need to
to,
sit still
'cause
again.
you like to
Because I
dance
like
when
to
you're
move
talking.
around a little bit too much. I like to bounce. Um,
But yeah,
but yes, like I said amen, and absolutely, because it is traumatic. It's a lot going on.
it's a
You
lot.
see it a lot in your face when you're online, you see it on the news, you got stuff going on in your family, so taking time to sit back and kind of reground yourself and regroup, because PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, is real.
It is
And it
real.
so
It
you
is real.
know.
And the result of post-traumatic stress disorder is what we're going to talk about today.
Yes, ma'am.
The name of this show is Heart and Soul.
All
And
right.
as they go together, because that post-traumatic stress disorder that you just spoke on is, I believe, let me put a caption that we are by no means calling ourselves medical doctors, physicians, or in the medical field as it pertains to diagnoses. And, this is our
Right.
interpretation
Our interpretation. I am not a
of,
medical expert. We are not medical
but I can tell you,
experts.
both of us have Jez spent
Enough
about 20
time.
years, and I spent a good 15 years in the medical field.
Absolutely.
So we are familiar with the diagnoses. We're familiar with treatment plans. We are familiar with,
Right.
doctor's notes. And so I want to talk about heart health. We
Hmm.
want to talk today about heart and soul and how it affects
Yeah, it's
us.
important.
Because a lot of people are not really, either they're not taking it serious or they don't understand it. It's usually one
Right.
or the other. Because
Right.
the ones
I
that
agree.
get it, and they are, we're trying to work on the things that can prevent heart disease
Hmm.
or treat heart disease. If you're already in phase, there are things you
Hmm.
can do to treat it, and then there are
Hmm.
things you can do to prevent it as
Hmm.
best you can. So,
I concur.
if you want to jump in, if there's anything you want to say right away, I was going to start off a little bit about the function of the heart. Like what the
Oh,
heart really literally does.
okay.
Um,
Oh, you taking it back. You
I'm gonna
taking it.
take
You
it back a
going
little
back to
bit.
the.
I'm gonna
Okay.
take it back because here's the deal. At the sound of our voices, you have been warned, instructed, and advised today. Let me
Mm.
say that. You will have been instructed, advised, and put on game today concerning your heart, because
All
many of you
right.
don't even go to the doctors unless we gonna talk about that. So, your heart is a muscle. I think most people understand that your heart is a muscle, and that, like any other muscle in your body, it is strengthened by movement and exercise.
By
Period. It's a
movement.
muscle.
Just kidding.
Yeah, right. So there are four primary functions of the heart. The heart pumps oxygenated blood to other parts of the body. It pumps hormones and other vital substances to all parts of the body. It receives deoxygenated blood and carries metabolic waste products from the body. And it maintains blood pressure. Those are the four major functions of the heart. And when you think about those functions, this shit is intricate.
Yeah, it is.
We just think we
Absolutely.
jump out of bed and we all good. Yeah, okay, good, the good Lord gave you blessings and woke you up and pumped that heart. But that heart is what continually pumps the rest of the body when you jump up and you're alive.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. It keeps you going. And blood
Keeps you
pressure.
going. And
That blood
so
pressure.
that whole blood pressure is your circulatory system. And
Hmm.
that's what is, it's circulation. So your right
Right.
side receives blood low in oxygen because it's used up by the brain and the body. It's exhausted by the time it gets back to be recycled. That's what the right side does. And so it pumps to the lungs where it picks up fresh oxygen and then returns to the left side, ready to pump out to the brain and the rest of the body. Notice it's the brain. So that vital organ of the heart pumps directly to the other vital organ, which is that brain, and that's all done through a network of blood vessels.
But listen to
And
what you said too about how the good oxygen goes through the lungs. And if you smoking like them cigarettes and them blunt wraps, man, what
speak
are
on
you
it.
doing to your,
Yeah.
I mean, your lungs aren't getting what they need and they're breaking down. And so what's going to your heart from there?
And there's a thing called residuals. So you don't feel it right away
Right.
necessarily, or you feel the side effects that we're going to talk about, but you don't realize that it's the small foxes that destroy the vine.
Yes, ma'am.
And what that means is, in our teaching back in the day, the pastor used to say it's the small foxes that destroy the vine, because what he means is the big foxes will walk by a vine, a grapevine per se, and they're going to
Mhm.
grab them a good vine and devour that. But it's the
Mhm.
little ones that's going to keep picking at it, picking at it, picking at it, picking at it, picking at it along the way
Yep.
until
It's gone.
until it's nothing
And
left, and
then
it
it's
can't even
destroyed.
replenish.
And you don't realize it's happening because it was little bitty pieces at a time that was just chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. And then the next thing you know, you deplete it. You'll be like, well, what happened? Yeah, take a deep breath
Take
because
a deep
whew,
breath, because it's about to get a little
we
heavy,
in.
y'all. So it pumps to the lungs. I'm going to reiterate, where it picks up fresh oxygen. The lungs contain fresh oxygen that fills that blood, and then it returns to the left side, ready to pump out to the brain and the rest of the body. And now, so then the arteries are the ones that carry the oxygen-rich blood to the body, and the capillaries connect the arteries to the veins. And all of this helps to extract water, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and nutrients waste between the blood and the tissues. Pretty
Mm,
intricate, but it's just a
yeah.
lot of systems working with each
Yeah.
other to try to, to make sure that heart is pumping healthy. And then the heart has 4 valves that keep the blood moving in the right direction. And so the heart has a natural pacemaker that sends electrical systems, and people wonder why we talk about energy, because the heart has a automatic pacemaker
Mm, that's
in the
energy.
valve that makes the heart pump, and it's energy.
Energy.
So
That energy is real.
we're talking about
Those
heart and
heart
soul.
connects is real. Them heart
We're talking
connections
about
is
heart and
real.
soul, baby. And so
Wow.
um, and then it sends, so those electric signals get sent to the heart muscles, and they tell it to contract and relax, right? That's
Mm,
an electrical system that's happening in your that whole cardio system. And so the blood pressure measures the pressure of the blood, because the blood needs to pump quickly. And
yes,
so
it
for the
does.
blood to pump quick, it has to be under that pressure. So at rest, the normal heart beats approximately 60 to 100 times a minute.
Mm,
And that is increased when you exercise.
right,
That's a lot of pumping that our bodies do that we take for granted.
right.
And if you're taking the way your heart works for granted physically, then let's not even talk about what your heart holds emotionally, because then it's a problem, and there's
Woo.
a correlation between the two.
Right, right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Woo! So some of the problems that result when you don't have a healthy heart is the cardiovascular system. You have things
Mm-hmm.
like heart attack, angina,
Mm-hmm.
and stroke are the top 3.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's
That
heart
blood
disease.
pressure is real. And in the black community,
Let's talk about it.
in the black community, we suffer a great deal of high blood pressure. And so I I know you know this, and I know this is part of your spiel that cardiovascular disease and heart disease and all of that stuff is still the number one killer amongst females. Still, after post COVID, all that stuff that they make you tell you, you're gonna die from. If you're not taking care of your heart,
Yeah,
you're still in that risk factor. Your
that's
heart
right.
needs the attention. You're still in a very high risk factor, and that's just as important as anything. We watched it go on around us. These people collapsing and heart attacks, and I saw a stat today about the NFL and how there have been since 2021 1,100 or not the NFL in sports 1,111 deaths uh in the NFL related to cardiovascular issues and those type of issues, not necessarily injury but physical things going on the inside. And then in the past years from 1938 or 19 something up until 2020, that 111 1011 was for decades, whereas in the past decade it has increased A
Okay,
significant
run
amount.
that by me one more time. So this 1100
It's
number,
11. Yeah, 11. Not 1100. 1011.
1011
1011
heart related deaths
in sports
in sports.
has increased, and in the
So
overall
we're not even
season,
necessarily getting the numbers because they don't even know that some of the injuries they've result.
right?
How do I say that? Like the after effect. So when you're not playing sports anymore, and what are those after effects? That
Yeah, I don't know
residual
about
effect
those.
that could
Yeah,
be the stress on your heart.
yeah,
So I
those I
don't know.
don't necessarily know.
I hope the NFL takes a real hard look. I mean, because they already had some things they needed to look at internally in terms of racism. And when I talk about heart health, I'm talking about hatred affects
Mm-hmm.
your heart.
Yep.
Those types of emotions that are evil
Mm.
driven affects your
Mm.
heart. So
Yeah.
there's been a heart problem in the NFL for a long time.
Yeah,
So
there
I hope
has
they
been.
take
You
some
right
time to
about
look
that.
at, the medical, how they pass these people through their medical exams and how often they have them, and making sure that there are medics. I know that our medics are generally close, but they might have to
Right.
pay a little bit more money in that area to make sure that that there's just more medical um, examinations and things going on. I don't know what the fix is, but I know a lot of parents are re-examining that sport
They
again,
should.
as they should.
Because even they even had a concussion issue. I remember.
So that's what I mean.
Um.
Those residual effects that are directly
Yeah.
correlated to those organs, that heart and that mind,
Yeah,
that
and
brain.
it's a lot of physical activity. A
It's a
lot
lot of
of
physical
physical
activity.
activity.
It is. And so, men, I'm going to talk to you just a minute about why you are higher on that cardiovascular spectrum.
Yeah, you are
We're losing you.
right.
And our black men, we're losing you. So we're going to talk real quick about how we can gain some longevity in and some quality in your everyday living.
Right.
So heart disease happens when your coronary arteries become narrowed by a gradual buildup of fatty material.
I,
Fatty material, right? So we got to be careful of that midriff. We got to be careful of
okay.
that, of fatty pot. Listen, obesity and overweight is a huge factor because it causes other organs to work harder. So I
Right.
plead to you, if you know you thick and that's your regular size, then you should be doing other things like making sure your diet is healthy and making sure you have some regular activity that keeps your heart flowing if that's your size. See, everybody wants to throw the towel in when they feel like they're not measuring up in one area or another. I'm built like this. Well, yeah, but you don't have to eat like this. Does
Right.
that make sense? Right.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. Hands down.
So when that becomes blocked, your heart becomes impaired. When those coronary arteries become narrowed, which makes it harder for the blood to pass through because of some other factors we're going to talk about, if that material breaks or ruptures, it causes a blood clot. And that blood clot thus causes a heart attack or a stroke. And the
Mm.
stroke is if the artery is affected if that's the artery that's carrying the blood to your brain. So if that particular artery gets ruptured or blocked, then that's going to cause a stroke. That's
Mm.
what causes the strokes. So that is what they call angina. And so the pain moves. So what happens is you have pain, you have discomfort in your chest, in your arms, your necks, your stomach, your jaw. So you guys, one of the things I think is important is that people learn to live with pain, and that's crazy to me.
Yeah,
I've
right?
gone too long just not being able to hear in my ear properly, and I'm not going in pain. That's what I'm not going to do. You can call me what you want to call me, but I'm going to the doctor if I know my body. I
Mm-hmm.
have a chapter in my book about know yourself, and it talks
Right.
about
That's
knowing
very
how your
important.
body functions, how it feels when it's not right, when things are off, when you have some swelling. You got to learn your body, and then when something's off, go to the doctor. Go to the doctor. Have regular checkups.
Yes, I agree. That should be the norm for
Should be the
all of us. At least
norm.
once a
Should be the
year.
norm. Find
At
you a good
least once a
doctor.
year. I mean, man, you don't have to do all of their recommendations, but you should at least know what your blood work look like.
Talk on it.
You should know where your blood pressure stands from a medical standpoint. You should know where you fall on the spectrum, where you're at from your weight, in correlation to, your height and your diet and everything. You should know these things. You have to, because you'll either find out the hard way.
Right. And so what happens with heart disease is exactly what you're saying, because they can't diagnose those things until you have a heart attack or a stroke.
Right.
It's too
Right.
late.
It's too late.
So what happens is you need to be aware of the symptoms and be clear that heart disease and different forms of it can be prevented and or treated with healthy lifestyle choices. And that's directly from the CDC. You might not like it, you might not like them as an organization, but quite frankly, there's some very healthy information on that mug. And I believe them, because here's the deal. Some of the symptoms that you're going to recognize when you're in jeopardy, or you're in a stage where you need to be making sure you're under good medical care, and like Jezzi said, you need to make sure you're getting your numbers. So your blood should be drawn once a year. If you already know you're high, I'm quarterly now because I'm pre-diabetic. I don't want you gonna keep a pre on that bitch, because I'm not finna cross over.
Right. Right.
Unless it's just meant for me to do it after I've done what the doctors order. And part of that, guys, is the stuff you don't have to pay for. You don't have to pay for a gym membership to go to the park and walk through the park.
No show.
Find a safe area and maybe find somebody you can walk with. Do it in safe hours, because it ain't safe on the streets no more. Find a way to, YouTube, open up the window so you get fresh air and turn on YouTube. And I guarantee you there is a workout on there for everybody, honey.
Yeah.
They have modified it for if you're in a wheelchair.
They sure have. YouTube, you can find anything. The easy yoga, because
The recommendations for keeping yourself together are usually things that don't even cost.
Right.
Water. I know all the water many of it is contaminated and questionable, but your body needs it.
Yes, it does.
Your body needs water. So do what you got to do. So when you experience dizziness, short of breath, fatigue with activity, fluttering, irregular heartbeats, swollen legs and ankles and feet. Honey, anytime you swole, it is never a good thing. You don't want swelling.
Right.
Chest pressure, these are the obvious. The chest discomfort, the pain in the neck, the jaw, the throat, that upper belly or your back, numbness, weakness, coldness in your legs and arms, which means circulation issues. Circulation is always going to affect the heart, let's be clear, because those are the arteries that are carrying the oxygen to the rest of your body, which causes your body to function. You really get, and so those blood vessels, when they get narrow and the blood can't reach its destination, that's when those blood clots form. That's when the blood stops, and now it backs up to your heart, because it needs to keep flowing.
Yeah,
blood needs to keep flowing. It's going to pop off. And so back to what I was saying, a lot of these things are not detected until you actually have a heart attack, angina, or a stroke, or you have heart failure. And, we're talking today under the voice of Jezzi and Jnine, because you heard it here. We're trying to help you maintain some level of quality of life.
Right. Mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, and soul.
Mind, body, and soul. The risk factors. Age is a huge one. The older you are, the easier it is for your damage to your arteries and narrowing of arteries. And then when it comes to men, back to our men, I want to cover this. Women more so after menopause, because a lot of what the heart generates are hormones. Those signals are sent to other parts of the body to generate hormones. And so we're going through hormonal shit. We need to be careful about heart disease as it pertains to women in menopause. Men, though, here's what I found to be just that. Very interesting. Men with your, how do I say that? So,
what are you going to say?
Your heart health has been tied to your low testosterone. Because it's metabolic. That low testosterone is a metabolic syndrome. And so it affects high blood sugar,
Okay.
diabetes. It affects, it makes for unhealthy cholesterol levels. And then it tends to make you gain a lot of weight in that midriff area we just spoke of.
Yeah.
So
when
they're
you
in
see
higher risk for diabetes.
when you see them pregnant looking men, yeah, you should already know.
I'm just saying, you got to be careful because a
Right.
lot of times those pregnant looking men are drinking a lot of beer.
Yeah, they
And
are.
that's a lot of the problem with the men and their heart health is increased alcohol. You guys got us beat,
Yeah, you do.
and we like to drink.
We like our wine. I like that beer.
So
I
you
wonder
got
if
us
it's the
beat.
yeast in the beer or something. I never knew because y'all be looking pregnant
Girl, they
drinking all them
rise.
beers, and I just could never understand it.
So let's be clear, though. It still is the number one, as you said. You were very accurate. That is the number one cause of death for both sexes in the
Yes,
industrialized world.
yes. I mean, and I don't understand why alarms aren't ablazing on a regular basis if this is the number one killer as a whole
Because no one
between
really wants
both.
to have the conversation. They don't, but they want to forget about it. People want to go and have a good time and pay for it
Right.
later.
Yeah.
These are residual effects that don't necessarily happen right away. So I got
Right.
time. I'm 25. No, you guys are dropping. You're not
Yeah,
making
you
it to
are.
50.
You're not limited to 50 no more. It's 25. It's 32. It's 38.
And I'm
It's
not okay with it when it comes to y'all heart.
no. Yeah.
The gun violence is enough,
Yeah, right.
but that's another topic. So
But
here's the
yeah.
deal. Excessive alcohol consumption, smoking, and the way you cope with stressful events. Here
I
is
know that
what,
for a fact.
let me roll that back for you, Ben. You're overweight, unhealthy habits, eating habits,
Mm-hmm.
obesity, smoking, diabetes, excessive alcohol consumption. But here's where we're going to touch into that heart and soul thing. Coping with stressful events
Stress. Yeah.
says you may be less adaptive physiologically, which is your body's functions,
Mm-hmm.
your and you behaviorally,
Yeah.
which is the
Mm-hmm.
way you react or respond to stress,
Right.
and emotionally, which is the way you feel about the stressful situation. So it's been recorded that men don't adapt as well. Your bodily functions don't work right. The way you respond to it tends to not help you deal with it. And then we already know that men have emotional issues. We're the
Yeah, they
emotional
like to
creatures is what they
suppress
call us. But men, come on. What
their
the studies are
suppression.
saying
Mm-hmm.
is the way you handling it is affecting how your heart is processing. And you guys are dying from it.
Yeah, and at an
Straight up.
early age, it's a lot of men. Interestingly enough, because I'm what 50 plus,
Yeah.
but so I know some 50 plus men, quite a few, over my years. A lot of them ain't making it out of their 50s. Our women do tend to live a little longer, and that might be directly correlated to how we, process emotions and stress, and that we're kind of geared towards it because we take on a lot of our children's issues and our grandchildren's issues, and we learn how to work through those emotions, especially if we don't want to hold them with us. But men, a lot of times y'all will sit back and just disconnect, and I think that does more detriment to you than anything.
In Jesus' name. So hypertension, men,
Ye-
black men, and we
Women
need you, black
too.
men,
Women
and
too.
women too.
Cause
I mean, I think I'm speaking to the black men only because as a whole, we're losing you. Because women will reel it in. We will modify. We will do what the doctor order. We'll talk to other women. We'll go to support
right,
groups. We go into counseling. We
right.
are making sure we're processing enough information so that we
Mm,
can level out the things that you can't give us, the average woman you can't give a diagnosis to. And we not go to the edge of the earth to figure out how we can make it work for us, because we are
Right.
concerned for exactly what you said, our children. We are concerned for the marriage or the home, and we want to make sure that it doesn't all fall apart.
Right.
But I tell you what, we at the doctor. We're at the doctor. We've been, they might have been calling us hypochondriacs or hypochondriacs because we want to, are poking the finger. But the thing is, there are a lot of symptoms that your body is telling you repeatedly. So there's certain things you don't have to deal with. You shouldn't have to, if you see that you are always swelling up, it's a problem.
Mm-hmm. Them ankles. I used
Those
to have an issue
ankles,
with
those
that.
feet. If
Ooh,
you see that
yeah.
you always that's a problem.
Especially during travel. I never could really understand why
Oh,
during
that pressure.
travel
Yeah.
the
And so
my
you wear the socks, the stockings, those
compression stockings
compression.
and
Yeah,
socks.
because that's just
Hmm.
natural. That's why you get gassy. When folks is farting and shit, they can't help it. They shouldn't have eaten greasy food. That's a recommendation from your flight attendant, your friendly flight attendant. Don't eat greasy food before a flight. I talk about that
Please,
because
or
being in the air, let me tell you something. If you did a survey of every flight attendant and asked them what is the one thing in your travel bag, they're going to tell you it's some Tums, nigga. They're going to tell you it's something. Oop. They're going to tell you that it is something for the digestive disrupt. Yeah. So
that makes
that's
sense.
natural to get that pressure. I mean, it's pressurized and it's designed to be that way. And so you're going to have some
Oh,
pressure.
okay.
And
Because
I
yeah, I
hope they
used to have
bleep that
that
out.
issue all the time, and actually, when I lived in Cali before I actually moved to Vegas, whenever I got to Vegas, I would also have that issue, but it also came after a long weekend of drinking
Of
too
drinking. Oh yeah, because your body's processing. Listen, Linda, listen. Your body is processing that negative, that that material that needs to
much.
get rid of, and the only way it's gonna get rid of is especially if you're overly intoxicated and it's all through your system. You're either gonna throw it up or you're gonna shit it out.
Yeah.
And so there goes the bloating. And usually you're trying to hold it in, and now you really bloated because you don't want to just blow up the plane, or you just don't want to blow up where you at. You're going to blow up the spot. Alcohol, y'all. So, listen, 382,776 in 2020. That means that's one in every 4 men are dying of hypertension.
Mm.
1 in 4.
Mm.
And so, and that's across the spectrum. It's not necessarily this isn't a black thing for
Yeah.
sure,
Right.
because it's a human thing.
It is a
It's a
human
human
thing.
thing. And so, I found a little interesting tidbit that some of the highest heart disease was this is the CDC. They have gathered statistics of the highest counties that have the highest heart disease.
Mm. Okay.
Death rates. Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Georgia, Kentucky, and Tennessee. So I
But they
can't
don't
go
care.
there and find a man. I'm going to have to
They
care
don't
for
care.
his heart.
Yeah, they don't care out there. You named all them states, and all I could think of was they want their greens and they fat back and they pork, and they ain't switching up for nobody. They not changing their diet for nobody, and that's just how they living.
I'm not going there for a man. You can count me out. I don't care for
They so
Alabama,
sweet,
Mississippi, Louisiana. I'm from Louisiana. We from Louisiana.
but they
Arkansas,
be
Oklahoma.
sweet.
Y'all can keep all them states, honey. Y'all can keep them.
I heard they be sweet because these West Coast men, woo Lord.
Yeah, they probably are. What?
I just veered off into another direction that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. Don't bring it up.
I don't know what's going on. But what I will say is we're going to touch on the spiritual side of things, because now you know. But let me say, we've talked about symptoms and all of that. Some simple things that you can do. First of all, you need regular doctor's checkups. I'm going to overemphasize that. Regular Regular doctor checkups. Regular doctor checkups. I'm going to emphasize that. Make sure you get your blood drawn.
Get your
Make
blood
sure
work.
you know what your numbers are. You got to start there. But here's what
Yeah.
you can do. Lower your blood pressure. Quit smoking. Understand diabetes as it relates to your eating habits.
Mm-hmm.
Healthy
Right.
foods. Limit your alcohol intake. And lower your stress level.
Yeah. And I want to add, overeating can pose a problem too. Because, some people veg out on healthy food and think it's because it's healthy. And I'm eating a big old salad and now my stomach is full. That's not good either because there's pressure being applied to all your organs when you
And
do
I
that.
think that's the difference between overweight and obesity in terms of
Mm,
a mindset. So
okay.
overweight, I might be overweight, but
I'm
I'm pretty
overweight.
slim. Right?
Yeah,
But I'm
you are.
probably overweight in terms of where the doctor wants me to work on this midriff and make
Mm-hmm.
because as my body is such that I shouldn't carry this weight and
Mm-hmm.
clearly it's hollering at me and
Right.
I'm doing something about it.
Good.
Um, but that check your cholesterol and your triglyceride levels.
Mm-hmm.
Those all affect your heart.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I do. I think that's a mentality between overweight and obesity, because obesity lies in that area where you just can't control it. So even when it's healthy foods, and like you said, and you're overindulgent in those things, because and so it's um, I don't even know what that medical term is. I'm not gonna try, but
Yeah, the overconsumption of anything not done in moderation, and I think I've said that 1,000 times. Anything not done in moderation is going to pose some issue in some shape, form, or fashion.
and that's
And overeating
everything.
everything is can definitely
Moderation.
be that. Because
Hmm.
and I ain't gonna lie, I'm regular. I'm guilty of certain things, but I feel like I don't do them so consistently enough that it's a part of my everyday regular routine. I don't have to overeat at every meal. I can take a little bit and keep it pushing. I can drink my
I
water.
don't need alcohol every day,
I
and
sure
it's
don't.
not a wind down for me.
Yeah, it's not a
You
wind
know,
down
we
for
need
me
to
either.
watch the alcohol consumption, especially at our black race, because we gonna get us some Hennessy and some wine. Like we gonna do that, but
Right?
moderation. Every time you go to an event, don't feel. Last time we went over to when we was doing the karaoke, I didn't need anything to drink. I
See,
might have want a
there you
shot if
go.
I'm going up to do my little skanky singing,
Skanky.
but you don't always
Yeah,
have
you
to go to
don't
events and
have
have
to.
to indulge. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm. And if you partake in the 420, balance it. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Have a shot. I told my cousin, because I know she's going through it, instead of just having the bottle, just have a shot.
Mm,
That's moderation.
there you go.
Watch your
There you
mouth out,
go.
Alabama. Yeah, you
Right.
okay. Alabama better get together because they was number one on the list. They was number one on the list. So, I really do think that stressor is the killer.
Yeah, stress is I can attest to that because the job I had previously, I used to feel like the stress level was so intense and it was just like autopilot. And I would start to wake up every day and feel physically ill because of the stress that I knew was coming with the work that I had to accomplish that day. So your job also could be
Hmm.
slowly killing
Anticipation is a
you.
bitch too, because you will
Yeah.
stress yourself out on anticipating, knowing how stressful a situation is going to be, and now you didn't
Yeah.
spiral before the situation has even occurred. Okay,
Right.
so I think knowing that the heart holds your deepest thoughts, it is the place of emotions. We
Right.
flipping it to the spiritual side, and for
Yeah.
me, the spirituality in the research that I did has a direct link to cardiovascular disease in some
Mm.
studies,
Okay.
right? And I think we might have touched on this a little earlier in one of our earlier shows. There's a study that was done with like 50 people from the U.S., but I think it was like a Southern Asian group of people. But they came from Chicago and San Francisco. And they did a study on these guys over 8 years to see if they could find out what psychosocial factors or religious or spiritual struggles, how it affect the biological process. A little technical. Basically, to say that spirituality can serve as a resource for resilience and have a protective effect, because some people are under spiritual duress, spiritual stress,
agree with that.
because they don't know how to release emotions. They don't know where to put this information. They don't know where to go with some of the stressors of life.
I agree
And
with
what
that.
the studies have found are that it affects your mental health. And your mental health is directly tied to how you feel overall as a healthy person. And all of that still, in my
Of
mind,
course. Yeah,
wraps up to your heart.
that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes absolute sense. Because what I found when I looked up about the spiritual health thing is there are several main ingredients that you have to practice in your everyday living. And I think that's why meditation and prayer are so important at the beginning, midday, and end of your day. You have to incorporate some level of that during the course of your day
Straight up.
because you need gratitude,
Mm,
hope,
mm.
forgiveness, and love. You have to practice those things throughout the course of your day, in order to help you deal with stress
Yeah. And it's
every day.
because we're in a more stressful environment because of the exposure
Yes.
factor. You see shit you don't even
Overexposure.
want to see because of the
Over
you
that's
know social media and
overexposure.
news. It's over, right? It's overkill. So it is actually putting stress on your body that you don't even know about, because it
Right.
happens in the mind. It happens in the
Yep.
mind. Once you see it, you cannot see it. Once you hear it, you cannot hear it. I have
Right.
ran into some crazy shit, and I'm like, I don't want to think about this no more. However, I was
Right.
exposed to it in scrolling on
Yeah.
my timeline, and now I'm traumatized because
Now
I
you
can't get that out of my damn head. It's gonna take me to go take a long bath and go to sleep on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not okay.
I saw a picture of some kind of random disease and I was so disgusted by the picture. I was just scrolling and saw it, scrolled very quickly past it and do you know how long that picture would flash in my head just randomly? Because I was so
That's
disturbed by it,
wrong.
even though I didn't want to see it, it just would randomly flash in my head and I would get disgusted every time I thought back on that picture. And then my daughters talked about how she had to put her phone down because sensory overload is a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a real thing. And I think that
It's
that
a
is
thing.
all a correlation and a connection. And that's why they
It's
got
all a
us so
connection.
enthralled
Oh
in
yeah,
these
because they're trying
computers
to get
and
us
these
ready for
phones.
AI.
Yeah.
AI is moving its ass in very quickly, and so how your body starts to change DNA, and then
Yeah.
DNA,
Change.
you're not gonna have these incredible ass kids. They
Yeah.
already coming out. Y'all talking about they coming out. These old COVID kids. Yeah, these COVID kids is punks. I can't drop them nowhere in Oakland and they be okay. You hear what I'm saying? Like, yeah, y'all might be
Right.
AI-ish because you come ready to
Yeah.
scroll with your little fingers. My grandkids ain't one and they poking at the phone.
And they
Come on,
already
man.
understand it. And
Come
that's
on,
just
man.
a trip. And they have no emotional ability to understand how to deal with the information that they're being overloaded with when you
Mm-mm.
place them with
My
these
grandson
tablets.
is overload and I have to take him and hold him. I have to hug him.
Yeah,
I have to
that's
love
right.
him back to a place of we are not virtual, baby.
No, we're not.
Stop hollering about all this stuff you see on this flipping up and down that you won't. It's causing your brain to overload. You're too smart for that. So one of the things that I know for sure, and this is my personal kind of testimony, is that I feel as it results to heart and soul that with the spiritual journey that I'm on, I feel very encouraged. It betters my behavior. I generate more confidence. I get peace. I get self-control. And self-control has to do with this media, grabbing yourself away from stuff,
Mhm.
self-control. Know when
Mhm.
you're on know when you overdoing it for your body. Know you understand when you
Identify your
are
sensory overload.
straight the hell up.
Identify it. Cause you can.
Sum that
You
up.
know when
Right.
it's too much
You know when
and
it's too
hours have
much.
passed by and you still got your phone in your hand.
And you wonder why your body's hot. Or you having a
Right.
hot sweat. Or you getting a headache. Oh, I got a headache. Yeah, well, keep holding the phone up to your head in them conversations and holding it up. All of the stress that you're putting on your neck and on your body. So get you some
Yes.
self-control.
Right.
And here's the biggest thing, and I speak this to my men. I really do, because women know how to. We know how to. We were the ones going to church. We were the
Right.
ones pretty much trying to develop our spirituality and trying to, connect ourselves. Men were watching football. Okay, no, I'm just
Mhm.
playing. But no, really, men. One of the more important things about having a sense of spirituality is being able to pull from inner strength and what was the word that I want to think? Emotional expression. You need to have somewhere you can go to
Right.
express
A
how
safe
you
space.
feel. And
Yeah, and I
pretty
think
much in
that's awesome.
spirituality is either yoga, it's not always the gym, man, because
Yeah.
sometimes that's the physical part. That's the part that keep you from hitting the wall, and now you're hitting the
Right.
ball and the bars. But you probably need to hit like somebody smarter than you, maybe somebody spiritual. Maybe you can find you a pastor that is actually practicing and living what he preaches, or a
Mm.
priest that's actually practicing and living what they preach. Try these people. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's a therapy. Everybody doesn't have to know what your spirituality road is, because it's different for everybody. Just find
Everybody's
one.
different. Find one. And it's interesting because I've met a few people along the way, and a lot of them are people that are trying to wake up. I would say wake up spiritually, find themselves in isolation a lot. They want to isolate themselves and disconnect.
And so
Eh,
here's my thing to that. When you start on your spiritual journey, you find that that is one of the most supportive people. You will find supportive people along the way of your spiritual journey, because we are supportive people. People
mhm.
that feel grounded and that feel their center, and that they can balance themselves, and that they can get control of
Mhm.
themselves, and they're trying to better themselves, are very supportive for people that are looking for the same thing. So you
Yes,
will
we
find
are.
a supportive community on that particular journey. Just get on it. Meaning, maybe you need to bow on your knees, but you need to know what you're praying and who you're praying to. You know what I'm saying? You have to establish what's comfortable for you, based
Right.
on either your heritage or the people before you. This is part of a chapter in my book. How you find spirituality is maybe you go back, maybe you trace your heritage back to, Louisiana and Alabama. And how did they practice? What were their practices? How did they
Mhm.
live? You're not going to necessarily find it, in one place. That's why I
Right.
always suggest travel, because you'll
Right.
find spirituality in some just beautiful things that are outside your normal community and your normal mind frame. You got to open your mind for spirituality to really take effect. You have to have an open heart and an open
Open
mind.
heart
Many
and
of us are
open
boxed
mind.
in and locked in. So I'm just saying, at the end of the day, heal your heart by having spiritual values. And those values, and they're treating people with these methods now. So this isn't just Jnine and Jezzi. They're
Right.
treating people with these type of spiritual methods, because the key areas they use are acceptance, which falls into those four categories that you listed. Hope, achieving
Mhm.
meaning and purpose in your life. And let me tell you the number one. If you don't do nothing else in your life, you better figure out forgiveness.
But yes, 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 that is a huge one, and I believe that causes way more than just heart dysfunction. I believe it can
Honey,
affect your gut. I believe it affects all types of bodily functions because I'm sure people have felt that knot in their stomach when they're just angry and they holding on to stuff that they shouldn't be holding on to. That's why people say forgiveness is not for that other person or that other thing that happened to you, it's for you to
That's
heal
for you.
yourself, your inner workings, your inner body. It's for you. Forgiveness is for you. So even if you don't have a chance to talk to the person or to relive the scenario that damaged you in that regard, you still have the ability to let forgiveness flow through you to forgive that person or that situation.
And it's a process,
And
but
it
it
is a
is
process.
huge.
It is.
Forgiveness is huge. And so some of the techniques they use is emotional expression, problem solving. That's huge. You need to be able to develop problem solving skills. The use of meditation, prayers, and rituals. And so some of that, just for example, real quick, is like what puts you at peace? You need to know that.
Right.
You need to know
Where do
what
you
can
find your
quickly
peace?
center you and where do you find your
Mhm.
peace when you just had the most stressful day of your life.
Where do you find your peace? Is it petting your cat? Is it petting your dog? Is it, taking a brisk walk around a corner? Whatever it is, find it and quick because you need it.
And
And it should
quick, because
be
this is moving quickly. We losing quickly, we dropping quickly, and we trying to figure out ways that we can disseminate information quickly so that we can heal quickly. It's called Get Your Shit Together. If we could name the show, rename it, that's what I would name it. But it's still Let's Get It Together. We're working on some
right.
things that we're going to cut that down. It's taken us a while because we're also working on individual stuff, trying to maintain some of this stuff we just talked about today, okay?
Okay. Let's keep it 1,000
some of
around
the
here
things
because
that
yeah.
some of
Keep
the other
going.
things that you could do, you could read an inspiring book. When's the last time you read a book? I'm telling you, books have a way of taking your imagination other places that even movies can't take you.
Yeah.
If you can sit down and get yourself, and then let that become a habit. So maybe every day after work, after I eat, maybe 30 minutes, I read an inspiring book. Okay?
Yes.
Yoga, sports, and simply quiet time. Learn how to turn everything off so that your spirit can be quiet, so that you can hear your heart. You know what?
Yes.
This is
What?
this is
Talk
a
about
really
it, honey.
throw off. But I would if I'm in a relationship and like I'm laying on my man or something, and I would listen to his heart. Like,
You want to see what
this
it
is
sound
I
like with a
digress.
beat?
I want to know that you have a strong heartbeat.
Oh
If I hear
Lord.
some faint shit, I'm not fooling with you because I don't want to care
You
for
don't
you.
want to hear
No.
no skipping the beat or all of a sudden a stop and a start and like that sleep apnea
Baby,
where you
you
don't
got
want to
a Febril. You got
a fibrile,
a
AFib, AFib.
I don't want to do that.
Woo-wee.
But
That
no,
sleep apnea
it's
too is tied to that
yeah.
too.
I don't want to hear
But
you snoring real hard because we're gonna have to go and take care of that. That's hard on the heart. It is because you're stopping and you're stopping and you're starting your sleep, and some of that you're actually stopping your breathing. That scares the shit out of me. You do not breathe then. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? In your sleep, and I can't. I can't do it. And I got a CPR class on Thursday, so I can revive you. I can revive you.
she can. She can bring you back to life if you die on her in her bed.
But I'm just
That's
saying,
what
I
she's
want to know that
saying.
you have a strong, healthy heartbeat and that it's rhythmic and it's continual. And you can only hear that in the quiet. So get yourself some quiet
Yeah,
time.
that's
Listen to
true.
your own heartbeat. Listen to the
Yes.
rhythm of it. Let that be the overflow of where your emotions start to come in. Because when you realize the intricate workings of your heart, what the pressure that it goes through on a daily basis to maintain our crazy selves, that alone should bring you to humbleness. It should make you appreciative. It should make you want to spend some time with yourself so you
With
understand your body
yourself.
workings
We are amazing individuals.
and
We are
intricate. We're intricate.
amazing.
That's an interesting word.
And what intricate?
Intricate.
Yes, we
Yeah,
are
okay.
intricate beings,
We
and
are.
we are
And we
we're
deserve
amazing.
time by ourselves, with ourselves, so that we get to know ourselves. How do you get to know somebody? That's how you get to know yourselves. 30, 40, 50 years of being with yourself, you ought to know when something's not right.
Right.
And when it doesn't feel right, don't feel bad about going to the doctor. I need my black men to go to the doctor. I need you to get a driver's
And stop
license if you don't
ignoring
have
stuff.
one. And I need
Oh,
you
here we go.
and I
I,
need you to
he
lay off some
digressed.
of them swishers. And I need you to stop smoking. Don't drink as much. Lose a little weight and take care of your households.
Yeah,
We
stop
love you.
telling me that beer is not alcohol.
I hate that.
And everyday beer is not like drinking every day and
I
like
can't
like
stand it.
alcoholic.
I
Yeah,
can't stand
it
it.
is. What's wrong
So
with you?
listen, we have come to the end of the show. And I'm excited that you guys got this information, and I'm not going to let you live it down. You heard it from me.
There
Get
you
your
go.
heart in condition. And if you know you have a condition, treat it. We want you to live a long, healthy, and
Yes,
prosperous
we do.
life. So this
Yes,
was
we
Heart and
do.
Soul with Jnine
And Jezzy,
on Get It Together
sending
on
much
Hot
love.
702.5 FM. And send us home.
All right, sending you off, sending us all off with peace, love, light, prosperity, and protection.
Good night. Next Thursday,
Night.
6 p.m.
See what you gonna do? What you gonna
Hey.
do? Hey, good night.